That'll be a really fun introduction. Whoever catches this on the replay that actually like watches it from the very, very beginning, they're gonna be like, "What's wrong with that girl?" Anyway, welcome to Promise Resource Network. This is Love Talks with me. I'm Jane.
And me, I'm Michael. Hello, Internet.
Hello, digital world, and the humans that are hopping on, tuning in. I was gonna say zooming in, but we're not on Zoom. But if you're doing it really fast, then I guess you're kind of zooming in. Just saying, because you're so fast. So we wanted to talk about something today. Were you excited to talk about this? As I was, yeah.
I don't think we've had as much time as we normally do to like sit and talk about what we're doing.
No, like not even a little bit.
Yeah.
So that's great.
It's been a very hectic week, to say the least.
Is there anything you'd like to share about that?
Not really.
Okay.
There's just a lot going on in family and personal life and the worky life.
Which
I think for both of us.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't even know. I haven't really caught up with you on the work stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
Which is funny that this is the topic. So the topic that we want to talk about and just dive into and get for real about is intimacy. And it's interesting because we have probably had the least amount of intimacy this week.
I'd say in a long time, yeah.
And not because it's been like we don't want to. Just like Michael said, like we've had stuff come up with family. We've had work shifts, work stuff, more work in some areas, and then like figuring out new work stuff in other areas because COVID season is, like a thing. And just we end up having like just a little bit of time either in the morning or in the evening to like really connect. And there was one night, I don't know if you got home late from like rock climbing or something, and we wanted to talk about like the day, but it never even happened. We were both like, apparently we need to go to bed.
Oh yeah, we went to bed really early that night.
Like 9:30, something like that.
Yeah. And then the other nights before that, I understand for obvious reasons you're on your phone, but like we're talking about the day and you're on your phone working on one work thing or another, and I understand why, because of the things you have going on with work.
Yeah.
The different work things. But it's like the time to connect and be intimate just hasn't really been there.
Yeah. Which I think that if we have a for real intimate connection, that we don't have to behave in ways that kind of like prove our intimacy to each other. Does that make sense? Like I feel like when I think of intimacy, I want to say hello to Charles first of all.
What's up, Charles?
Like I feel like when I think of intimacy, I think of like the movie ideas where it's like the couple goes to dinner or they're having sexual relations or just like the movie stuff. Like, yeah, I feel like a lot of the intimacy, it feels like movie stuff, but the movie stuff doesn't like show like deep, actual intimate connections. So I think that although we may not be in a place this past week to actually be like doing things that would be perceived as intimate, I think that we've actually had more intimate moments over the past week.
I could see that. Like scattered throughout the days. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think we've had a solid chunk of time to spend intimate time together now.
Well, yeah, we do it now. We're doing it now.
Yeah, this is literally like the most intimate chunk of time we've had all week.
Yeah.
There have been more intimate moments than
Since
this, but they're like, bam, pop, like real quick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like we haven't hung out for more than an hour since Saturday. Like Saturday.
And if we do, it's like it's over dinner, or it's over doing the dishes together, or it's over something.
Yeah.
It's not just hanging out and connecting.
Yeah. which is what we want to talk about. So for those of you that are on here with us, I would love to know, we would like to know, but I'm putting it in the I because I'm talking. How do you define intimacy? How does intimacy play out in your mind? Like, does it look like the movies? Does it look different to you? Does it look like if you cook for your partner? Like, what does intimacy look or feel like to you? And if you're not with a partner, that's okay. Talk about yourself, because however you relate to the intimacy portion of with you is how your partnerships will forever be. So that's a thing. So I'm putting that out there. Good evening. Carrie joins us, and I say hello. Oh, right. She shares, but I love that you two do those things together, though. Me too. Like, I'm really grateful that, like, we do these, like, regular things together. And when we're, like, present with each other, like, being in the moment, talking about what's happening with our feelings or our thoughts, or how's your day going, actually listening to each other, or, like, touching each other while we're doing things like the dishes, or cooking. I think that makes those moments so much more intimate,
Yeah.
I was just thinking, so I cleaned one of the bathrooms this morning, and I was thinking, how could Michael have made that more intimate? He could have done it for me. It really wouldn't have been more intimate, but
I think it would have led to more intimacy. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Because you made a good point before. You said even if you're not with somebody, you don't talk about yourself being intimate with yourself. And I thought of just about when I was alone with myself, single, not in a relationship, I took care of myself as far as like cooking and cleaning and making sure I slept enough and making sure I meditated and did yoga and got some sunshine, went for walks. But intimacy for me was taking care of myself. And I think that happens in a relationship too. When we take care of each other, when you cook me dinner, I feel an intimate connection with you when we eat that dinner, or later on when I'm reflecting and go, wow, she made this really awesome dinner for us. I'm so grateful for her. And then that leads to the intimacy.
Does it lead to intimacy, or does it lead to more intimacy, more space for intimacy?
I suppose you could say more space for intimacy.
Yeah, I feel that.
So had I got up and cleaned the bathroom for you this morning, it would have led to spaces later on throughout the day where I think you could have been like, man, I'm really grateful that he did that for me this morning. And then you would just see me differently. You would have more space or time to come over and give me the hug.
Yeah.
To share the hug or say something nice or take 5 minutes out of your workday to come talk to me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just like a little bit of the time that I used in the morning to save you time from having to clean the bathroom. You would have that time in the middle of the day. You'd have extra time. So while you're working, you can go, well, he really helped me out this morning. And he cleaned the bathroom for an hour or whatever it took him. That's a whole nother story.
It's a story.
But like all that time that I saved you, like I think at some point throughout the day you would have taken at least 5 minutes to stop by and like love on me.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's those like gestures. It's like just gestures.
It's just like acts of service.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which is a part of the Love Languages book, which you haven't read that yet, have you?
No.
I have it here. If we can get that read before February, Amanda requested, well, I kind of mentioned it, and she was like, yeah, and a few people were like, yeah, for us to like talk about the 5 love languages for February. So I'm putting that out there.
That sounds good.
Right?
I like that. We can see.
Okay. Yeah. Kimberly's in the house. I want to say hola, como esta to you. When I asked what your thoughts and feels were around intimacy, Charles shares, Intimacy. I can't.
Intimacy.
I can't talk. Intimacy. Intimacy. Anyway, intimacy comes and goes, he says. Not every day is rolling in the sand at the edge of the sea with the waves crashing around you. Some days it's just a look and a wink and a nod or a finger crossed that you don't have to sleep on the couch. That's funny. But it really,
yeah, I guess.
but yeah. I agree though. I think that image right there, I'm so glad you shared that image, right? There was a Chris Isaacs video. I think it's the I don't want to fall in love. Anyway, whatever. But it was like a video in black and white, and it's like the woman and the man, or maybe just the woman, I don't know, but she's like rolling around in the sand, and it's all like sexy and stuff. And it's like, that's so great. But if I waited for that to feel intimacy, then I would never feel intimacy, right? I think it is in so many more moments than these big grandiose expressions of intimacy. And then Carrie shares, that could be intimate. Like when my friend comes into the kitchen just to be near me, yes, to talk and to listen, that is intimate to me. Just want, if I could talk, just want to be near you. Yeah, small acts when being acknowledged can definitely open space for connection, right? It really is. I think that is intimacy, right? Just the like having someone that like actually wants to be next to you. Because we live in this time of this COVID 6-foot crap where it's like we are like energetically out of heart distance. Because like our heart emits this EMF and it goes infinitely, but like the almost tangibleness of the heart of love is like within a 6 feet parameter. So we're literally living in a time where we don't feel intimate connections with other humans. So like for real though, I'm so glad you mentioned this, Carrie. Like just being next to someone, having someone come up to you just to be like, that feels more intimate than if I were sitting on the chair over there. Plus, that would just be weird because nobody would really see. It would either be me or you on that. But I like that. I like that. I like that. Like just to be near me, to talk, to listen. I think listening is one of the most. Oh, look at that! Look at that! It showed up. I think listening is one of the more intimate acts for the person sharing. What do you think? What? No. Never mind.
What are you talking about? Like
I
if you're
think-
sharing and I listen, that's a
Yeah.
very intimate act. You perceive it to be a very intimate act.
Yeah. Because like I can talk to you, and if you're like, yep, great. That doesn't feel intimate to me. If I'm sharing the same data and you're actually like listening, that feels intimate to me. Intimacy feels like a heart, like thump, 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 thump. Like, yeah, like it. That's what my heart says.
It feels like connection.
Okay, so that's probably the better word than the
Yeah.
heard. Yeah, okay, well, thank you for that. Kimberly shares, for me, intimacy can be deep, like bearing your soul and being vulnerable, or intimacy can be laughing over human body stuff, having something in common, or pausing to really look at someone. I'm so glad you mentioned this because I will laugh at like we will laugh, and Kim, you know this, like we will laugh at like some silly body stuff because human bodies are funny, y'all. Like, let's be honest. They're funny. And that laughter and that vulnerability, I think even laughing is bearing a part of your pure soul, like big time. I love that. Pausing to really look at someone, that is an intimate moment. You know what? I have done like I've well, especially pre-COVID, I would lead groups where people were in real life together, and I would have us do all these exercises to really just amplify our frequency and our love and stuff like that. And I've done so many where I would pair people up that didn't know each other, and all they were encouraged to do would be to look in each other's eyes. So many people had a hard time with that because it was too intimate. It was too vulnerable for them. They had never been seen before, and it was too uncomfortable. And then there were others that would start to lock eyes and tears would stream down their face. Excuse me, because it was so like intimate.
Yeah, that was an experience.
Yeah, you were there.
I've been through that once or twice. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, you were.
I didn't realize the power that held.
Right?
Yeah. I've actually suggested that to people since that day, like friends, people at work, and they laugh at me. And I'm like, no, seriously, go look in each other's eyes for 30 seconds, but you can't do it. Because I was telling them how we did it for like 3 minutes and we said things to each other. We did the Ho'oponopono. And like they kept laughing at me. And then I was like, I bet you can't do it. And they couldn't do it. They would start looking in each other's eyes and feel something, and then they wouldn't do it.
They would look away or
Yeah.
they'd laugh. Because I noticed that like there's a difference between like really that being vulnerable and having those intimate moments where we're just like bearing our soul and laughing our faces off. And then there's that difference when it's like I'm uncomfortable because we're getting too close. I'm gonna laugh. Ha, 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 I'm just gonna divert my attention. Ha, ha, ha. And
That's a real thing, though.
yeah.
A lot of people have trouble making eye contact for more than a few seconds.
Yeah, I think that it's, I mean, they call it the windows to our soul. You know, the eyes don't lie. You know, they show, and when we look in someone else's eyes, we can see the pain that they've seen or experienced. We can see the joy and the light behind it. We can see ourselves literally in the reflection, right? But I also see like when eyes actually connect, it's such a vulnerable connection, connecting thing. It's big. I like it. Do you say your name Chigamora? Tells me that I'm really sexy. Thank you. I've been working on this my whole life. I also took a shower today and washed my hair. Some of you can tell because it's half the size as it normally is. It also shows you two are like Beauty and the Beast.
I guess I'm the Beast.
I was gonna say I was the Beast. I used to love Beauty and the Beast. Actually, it's really interesting that you share that because I would watch. I used to watch Beauty and the Beast. Like that was my jam. So whenever I was having like depression, I would always watch that on repeat over and over again. So the fact that you actually say that, it actually warms my heart and makes me feel more intimate with the Michael. So thank you for that reflection. And I will not make you watch Beauty and the Beast because you know I'll sing. And then Carrie shares, for me, it's like you really just want to be here with me and you don't want anything but just to be with me. Yes. New experiences for my body to process if I'm being honest, right? To have true intimacy, there's no agenda. I used to think that sex was intimacy, period. Hey, Tina's in the house. Well, in the computer screen. Anyway, I used to think that having sex was intimacy. And all I craved as a human was intimacy because that's what we do as humans. We are intimate creatures. We're pack animals. We are made to live in community and in tribe. So I was so far removed from connecting with other humans that I had a belief that if I had sex with someone that they loved me because we were sharing this intimate moment. And if they made eye contact, right? Talk about this, back to the eye contact. Like if someone made eye contact with me long enough, I would be like, ooh, that's intimate. Well, then I guess I need to have sex with them because that's what you do to prove and to be worthy and all of these things. But to have an intimate moment, to have intimacy just for intimacy's sake, just to be together, just to share that space and that energy field. No agenda, no expectations. To me, that really roots down into like our soul and our body. What intimacy is actually made to be like. You have any thoughts on that?
You just share a lot.
I know. Yeah, you don't have to like not anything in particular, but is there anything you would like to add to that?
I mean, of course, sex is very intimate. The sexual relations, like duh.
Well, yeah.
But you're saying that's all you thought intimacy was?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Interesting.
Yeah.
I feel like anything that is connecting creates intimacy. And I feel like three of the things that are the most connecting are acts of service, being seen, and being heard.
What about touch?
That's obviously intimate, but I mean, if you're touching me, I know you're seeing me. You can
That's an interesting
another
statement.
word you can put for seeing is like feeling. Like you're feeling me. You're feeling my energy. You're feeling my vibe. You like what you see. I kind of lump that all into the seeing me.
Interesting, because it's so interesting. This is the difference between lived experiences. Because to me, if someone were touching me, they literally wouldn't, they couldn't tell you what color eyes I had. They couldn't tell you my last name. They were just touching me because they had an agenda. So for me, when I was touched, it wasn't just touched to be touched. You know, it wasn't like so much so that I had many years of my life, like 10 of them solid that I remember very specifically, that people would come up to me and be like, "Oh, can I have a hug?" And I'd be like, "No, no, back off." I would tell people no. I had been so traumatized through false senses of intimacy that when true, loving, intimate gestures were brought to me by friends, peers, just humans, I was like, no, back off. So that's interesting. I'm so glad you shared that. And if y'all have anything to add, like, please do, right? Like, bring it on. That's interesting, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's why I think I like to be touched so much now. Like, whether it's like holding my hand or like, can you rub my back or whatever.
It's all three. If you make a request, it's like if you ask for a shoulder rub, I'm giving you a shoulder rub and you're enjoying it. It's all three. I'm seeing you. I'm hearing you. I'm hearing your request.
And you're doing an act of service.
Yeah.
That happens to involve touch.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think, cleaning the bathroom would have nothing to have done with touch. At all.
And if you didn't ask, it has nothing to do with hearing. It's just an act of service.
What?
Huh?
Tina says vulnerability. I think being intimate is extreme vulnerability. Like, I think that we can't be, I don't think, and tell me what y'all think. Do you think that you can be intimate without being vulnerable? What do you think? Yeah, your name.
I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't either. I don't think we can truly be intimate without being vulnerable.
Mm-hmm.
We can have sex and not be vulnerable all day. Maybe not all day. That might be uncomfortable.
I don't know about that.
Not everybody. However, based on some lived experiences, there were many times when I would, part of my unhealthy drugs and distraction to deal with my traumas that I didn't know how to deal with was having non-intimate, non-connecting, non-vulnerable, loving sexual relationships. So I wasn't intimate. Like, I had no heart involved. It was like I had all the walls around my heart, but I was like, I'll do the intimate thing because this is love, right? But it wasn't. It was like this false sense of intimacy. So I would feel normal and right. How's that for some vulnerable talk, y'all?
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah. You're welcome. We're sorry. Carrie shares, yes, I can understand that. It also is meaningful to be able to say no. Yes. After going through things like that. Yes. Yeah, right. Being able to say no and having that honored, right? Like, if I'm ever like, hey, Michael, or if Michael's ever like, hey, you want to do X, Y, and Z? If I'm like, no, I don't. And him to be like, all right, cool. And respect that right there makes us more intimate. Like, because that just connects us together even more, And I'm in like, something had occurred a month or so ago, and I wanted to do a thing, and Michael was like, no, like it's not the right time, it's not the right place, just no. And although it really hurt my feeling, I understood it. And his strength to say no in that way, I think made us more close. You know what I mean? Carrie says like not truly and sincerely. Exactly, right? And says none of those connections have ever nourished my soul. I added ever to that statement. Yeah, those false senses of intimacy, those false senses of connection. They're superficial. Have y'all ever like had talk about like rubbing my shoulder or whatever? Have y'all ever had like a pain in your neck or something? And you're like, oh my God, it hurts so bad. And you like go to like the massage therapist or you ask someone like, can you please rub this? And then they do this number to you. And you're like, what are you doing to me? Right? Exactly. You're like, like I need you to go in there, but they just keep it so superficial that you not only don't feel relief, but you're actually now more irritated because you were like, help me. I need this intimate touch to feel relief. And how it can actually lead to, more frustration and a pulling away of intimacy.
Oh man.
I kind of want to share, but I feel like it's just long and I don't want to like share a long story.
Yeah, I don't.
Yeah, but it's funny. It was very similar to that actually. Charles says touching is great and all. There's another maybe lower level of intimacy that doesn't involve touching because it's not appropriate for touching to occur, but still just as important. A lower level. Oh, you mean like a deeper level of intimacy, right? Yeah, I was like, yeah, I had to think about that. I agree that there's so much more intimacy that doesn't involve touch. I mean, there's definitely a lot of intimacy that involves touch and different ways of touch that increases intimate connections, light touch, this touch, that touch. And to be able to be 110% open and vulnerable and laughing and in joy or in stillness and silence, like there's this deeper level of intimacy that touch really doesn't have anything to do with. Carrie says, like in my recovery, I'm striving to be honest and authentic in my connections and being okay with the potential fallout for being honest. Hashtag I feel you on that. It's hard for people to understand that not only are you taking care of yourself, but not hurting or enabling as well. Yeah. Like that's why I think we mentioned at the top, like it doesn't matter if you're in a relationship or not, right? Being intimate with yourself, doing like this for real self-care, which may mean telling someone, no, I don't want to meet tonight because I know that you're going to want to go to the bar and I don't want to drink. And they might get real pissy pants at you and then like never want to talk to you again. That's okay. Because then to me that like closes that door and opens how many more doors for more deeper, authentic, intimate relationships to come into play. And it is sometimes hard for people to understand. And that's okay. That's what I say. I feel like you've definitely been experiencing that more in the past, 6 months where
in the past COVID year.
Yeah, in the past COVID year, just people that are lacking understanding and lacking understanding in your boundaries or your free nature or whatever that is. And it's like, well, more intimate relationships can come in then.
Yeah. One door closes, other one's open.
That is so true.
Yeah.
I want to say good evening to Tanisha. Welcome to Love Talks. So check this out, y'all. I would like to share this because we've been reading The Mastery of Love by Don Miguel Ruiz. And we were reading something and we were really called to share this. I'll let you read that last part that we wanted to share. Oh, where is it? I know what page it was on. It was on 110. Will you talk while I read this? Because I can't do both. Just talk about intimacy.
What am I supposed to talk about?
How does intimacy look with family members?
How does intimacy look with family members?
Yeah.
I can sum that up in the three things that I was saying earlier about seeing, hearing, and acts of service. I feel like any non-surface level connection that I've made with family members in the past has to do with having conversations and actually hearing each other. And then from those conversations, doing some type of act of service to help them.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And then actually sitting like at a table and looking eye to eye and having a conversation with each other. It's very
Yes.
connecting.
Yes.
As opposed to, sitting in the living room with the TV on, everybody on the device and talking to each other, but like looking at their screen, like you're not really hearing or seeing each other, and nobody's really doing any type of act to help one another or help situate the house, which helps everybody in the house.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Everybody's just very disconnected or in their own world,
Their own bubble.
their own bubble.
Yes. I'm so
And when
glad-
you're in a bubble, it's like everybody's in their own bubble and nobody can actually get intimate
because nobody
because their
wants
bubbles
to,
are like keeping them secluded.
yeah, and nobody wants to really look outside their bubble,
Mhm.
which goes back to the, just like eyeballs to eyeballs, like that, like with another human, so intimate. And if we're all on devices and we're all looking at screens and all this other stuff all day, every day, we're not being intimate, and we are literally cutting ourselves off from being love. Like literally, which is so perfect because of what Don Miguel Ruiz wrote. And yes, I will type it in. Yes, I will type it in just in a moment, unless you want to type it in while I read. No, okay.
I see a good comment. I'll let you read first.
Oh,
You see it now. Let's read first, and then we'll get to the comments.
intimacy, must be honest, which can be hard to do with family.
No, I see family members sometimes don't respect boundaries.
Mm-hmm.
Boy, is that a statement. In my
Mhm.
experience of family, and not just my own, but just witnessing others' families and hearing them tell the stories about interactions with their family.
Huh.
I see a lot of boundaries that get crossed, and I see a lot of boundaries that aren't spoken up for. Like children letting
Yeah.
aunts, uncles, adults stomp all over their boundaries, and the
No
younger
parents
folks,
standing up
no
for
parents
them.
standing up for
Yeah.
them, or the child or the younger adult standing up to the parents or the elders in the family and like putting up their boundaries
Yeah.
and grace.
Yeah.
I'm not saying to be a jerk, but just
Right,
say,
but
hey,
just,
these
like,
are my boundaries. This is how I operate my human life.
Yeah.
I'm not 5 years old anymore. I'm 25 or I'm 30,
Yeah. I want to go back to the screens part.
Okay.
Like you were talking about, like, when if your whole family or your partners or whatever, right? If everyone is on the screen or everyone comes home, turns on the TV and they're watching it, and like, yeah, we're sitting next to each other and we're both watching it. There's an intimacy connection that doesn't get to be fully made. And we'll talk about that in a second, because if you have the book, The Mastery of Love, it's on page 110. It's the second paragraph. He says, there are people who say, quote, I want to change. I really want to change. There's no reason for me to be so poor. I'm intelligent. I deserve to live a good life, to earn much more money than I now earn. They know this, but that is what their mind is telling them. What do these people do? They go and they turn on the television and they spend hours and hours watching it. Then how strong is their will? So much in that, because first of all, to be vulnerable takes will. It takes courage to be vulnerable, right? It takes really a lot of courage, I think, to be open and vulnerable and all that. And the hours and hours, because when we were talking, like, there are sometimes when Michael and I watch something on the teddy, we'll watch a documentary or a movie or whatever. And those are really intimate moments, because we're like, we stopped and we're snuggling and we're cuddling and we're talking about whatever it is that we're watching on the screen. And that is intimacy. There's a difference between that type of like intentional connection together to watch the thing on a television. That's totally different than if we both come home and we just turn it on and then we randomly laugh at the cued laughter. And then we both see something horrific and we both go, oh, could you imagine? And then it's like hours pass by. So that's hours of a type of an intimacy. It would be like, I wouldn't want Michael for hours just to rub me right here on my shoulder. Like for hours. That's not intimate. At some point it's going to get annoying, right? Like I would want him to look at me, to acknowledge me, right? And I think that so oftentimes we have this culture where it's like, oh, if we watch TV together, we're being intimate. No, you're not.
I mean, there's some type of connection there. It's like the connection with the person I work to in the next cube over at work every day. If we never have a conversation about anything, and sometimes we'll just talk about work, we have some type of connection.
Mm-hmm.
We can work next to each other for years, and we'll have more connection than somebody that just started. You know what I mean?
That's quantum entanglement.
And I can meet somebody on the street one day and have a great conversation with them
Mm-hmm.
and have a more intimate connection with them than the family member I've been sitting next to on the couch for a year, not having a real conversation.
Right.
But every once in a while going, wow, could you imagine that?
Yeah.
Wow.
It's not the same as that, like,
you're not actually having a human connection.
Right. And the eyes make such a difference.
It's like physical, it's like a by proxy intimacy. Like I'm physically close to you. I'm not acknowledging you. I'm not looking at you. I'm not hearing you. I'm not doing shit for you. But technically there's a little bit of intimacy there just because of the proxy, like we're close to each other.
Totally.
But it's very, very minimal.
Yeah. It's very interesting. We have these, I feel like as a culture, we have misconceptions on intimacy. So I think that when this is the topic, on Love Talks, it allows us to really like dive into it and actually pick it apart and make it what it, I think, is designed to be, which is a really loving human thing. I want to share what Carrie's saying. She says, I agree with acts of service as long as it's coming from a place of sincerity instead of expectation. I've almost taken myself out in this way. Now I practice moving specifically from a loving place, right? Because if I do something because I'm supposed to or I have to, that's how we burn ourselves out. Yes. And Tanisha says, because no eye contact now and things that can lead to misunderstandings and assumptions because of no eye contact and active listening, right? And some of your family members are habitual line crossers. My family's actually not line crossers. When you were talking about that, I'm like, well, I mean, I had a family member that behaved in ways that crossed boundaries, but I grew out of the ability for that to continue happening. Thank you, Carrie, for replying with the name of the book. Ooh, appreciate that. And Tanisha says that, I have the right to say no to my family, right? And that, and talking about like the TV, that it's not really quality time, right? And Sarah Catherine, staring at screens is not intimate. I agree. Tina shares YV. What's YV? TV, thank you, is a distraction that keeps my mind from tearing itself apart. I do have to make sure my partner does not need me during that time. Ooh, right? It's like if Michael goes rock climbing, right? That is his intimate moment with himself. Sometimes I join him. Sometimes I don't. When I join him, we have different type of intimacy. When I join him, his intimacy with himself while he's rock climbing is not the same. So I think having that awareness, like I need my own intimate time with me so that we can do these intimate things together. I think that's a beautiful awareness. Thank you for sharing that. And I hope that we all remember that, like to have the intimate moments with ourselves. But if you're playing a video game together, that's fine. That's hilarious. I bet Michael just got really happy to hear that because he plays video games and I don't. I have experiences around video games that they trigger me. I don't like them at all. I'm aware. I communicate them. That's true. It's all true. Talking about different ways. Tina shares that she'd like to go rock climbing.
What? Yeah, let's do it. Totally.
I'm like, yeah, really, please. So you are going to read on page 115 some things that keep us from actually being intimate with each other, right? Keep basically the level of intimacy that I can experience with another human is directly related to how much intimacy I can have with myself, period. If I don't have intimacy with myself, I get to ask myself, where the hell does that come from? Why can't I be intimate with me, right? Why can't I spend quality time with me? Why can't I touch myself? Why can't I look at myself in the mirror? Why can't I take myself out to do the things that light me up, to go rock climbing, to go for a hike, to go to yoga, to do whatever, to dance, right? Oh, Tanisha wants to go rock climbing too. We're gonna get like
Maybe we'll
a
have
group
like a group
together.
outing, yeah.
Yeah! I'm excited. I got really excited. Field trip. I really got excited, y'all. Anyway, but this level of intimacy that I have with myself, if I don't have the ability to see myself, right? Where does that even come from? It's because I'm still holding judgments, right? I'm still judging myself, saying I'm not good enough, I'm not this enough, so much so that I can't look at myself in the eyes. I can't touch myself. I can't take myself on an experience that brings me closer to me. Then how on earth could I do that in partnership? I can't. And when Michael read this the other day, because we read this out loud to each other because we're that dorky and we drink tea around it. Because I don't drink alcohol anymore, so we drink tea. Will you read? Will you share it? Plus, he has a really nice voice.
Thanks.
Oh, Carrie shares. I'm with you on that one. Parents didn't see me. I love my mom. Y'all know she's on here all the time. However, she was like super busy and wasn't present, and my dad was just not there either. And so like I didn't have intimacy after a certain age in my life. So like I definitely feel that blame, shame, questioning worth. Yes. On that note, we read that.
Sure.
I think it was from the second paragraph.
Page 115. Sometimes the self-judgment is so strong that people need to be numb just to be with themselves. If you don't like a person, you can walk away from that person. If you don't like a group of people, you can walk away from those people. But if you don't like yourself, it doesn't matter where you go, you are right there. To avoid being with yourself, you need to take something to numb you, to take your mind away from yourself. Perhaps some alcohol is going to help. Perhaps some drugs will help. Perhaps eating, just eat. The self-abuse can get much worse. There are people who really feel self-hatred. They are self-destructive, killing themselves little by little because they don't have the courage to kill themselves fast.
Mm-hmm. I think that when we're not intimate, when we're actually not close to ourselves or another human, that we just are killing ourselves. I think that it's one way to kill ourselves by like, I'm just going to keep eating all the food. I'm going to keep drinking all the drinking. I'm going to keep doing all the drugs. I'm going to keep watching TV until I become so sedentary that I can't move anymore. Like that's like killing ourselves super slowly. I think as soon as we actually, when we are fully disconnected from intimacy with self and others, then we that's like the faster death. You know, that's what I think. Janisha shares, I'll have to go to a very challenging, I have to have a very challenging conversation with a non-conforming boundary crosser. Wish me luck, everyone. Ooh, you can totally do this. Come from a place of love, stand your ground. The force of love is powerful, and may the force be with you. Carrie says, that's so deep, right? I'm glad I dropped in here today. Thank you for this. I know, perfect timing. Like seriously? Just saying, like, I'm really grateful that you're here. And like, you know, intimacy. I think that was it, wasn't it? For what we were going to share? Because it wasn't.
I'm not too sure because you said that you wanted to share that part. I do like the next paragraph as well.
You wanted to share it?
Sure.
Okay.
If you observe self-destructive people, you will see they attract people just like them. What do we do if we don't like ourselves? We try to get numb with alcohol to forget our suffering. That's the excuse we use. Where are we going to get alcohol? We go out to the bar to drink. And guess who's going to be there? People just like us, who try to avoid themselves also, who also try to get numb. We get numb together. We start talking about our suffering, and we understand each other very well. We even start to enjoy it. We understand each other perfectly because we vibrate in the same frequency. We are both being self-destructive. Then I hurt you, then you hurt me. A perfect relationship in health.
Yeah. And then I think that gives us that false sense of intimacy, right? It's like I'm numbing my inability to be open and vulnerable and intimate with myself. So I go to the bar, I go plop up to the bar, I make friends with the bartender. I feel that they actually like me because they're listening. They're making eye contact, they're paying attention to me, right? So now I feel like I'm safe and I'm in an intimate relationship with this bartender. So then I have a drink, someone sits next to me at a bar, and everyone else is in the same frequency as me because we're all there at that moment. And then I form this bond, and I'm like, oh yeah, we're all best friends, we're all intimate and this and that. And it's interesting because from my lived experience, because that was me, you know, everyone in Plaza Midwood and Noda knew me. It was great. That's really great. And everyone was in that same frequency. And then when my frequency changed, when I became more intimate with myself, I wasn't as intimate with them. And it felt uncomfortable for me. I was like square peg, round hole. It just didn't match anymore. Intimacy is really good. SK says, really is perfect timing for this topic. Then share away. No, for real though. Y'all can also like share any of these videos. You can share them from the Facebook platform. You can share the YouTube videos. Subscribe to the PRN YouTube channel. Highly encourage that. Carrie says, and you agree with me, and now we're besties, except that we're not. That's funny. Tina says, vibrate in the same frequency can also work in the positive, right? Look at this group. She says, exactly. That's the thing. Like attracts like all the time, which I thought about this today. This is a total different topic, but I can't not say it. Like attracts like. That's why we're all here together in this now moment, having this conversation, wanting to talk about and expand love and intimacy. And then, you know, that whole saying like opposites attract. And it got me thinking about this today. I was in meditation and I'm like, I thought I saw a magnet and it had the positive end and the negative end. And it made one whole piece. So it's not that opposites necessarily attract, it's that one whole piece needs to have both sides, has to have the polarity. That was it. That was my intimate moment of myself in meditation.
That's a good intimate moment.
Is it?
The fact that both sides there's the polarity that both sides have, which is necessary for them to attract.
Mm-hmm. And like, yeah, there are times when Michael and I repulse each other. Like energetically, it's like we repel each other. Like if he's being a grumble butt or I'm being a grumble butt and we're being grumble butts together, like we literally will repulse each other. Actually, if we're both being grumble butts, we tend to attract to each other and we're like, and it doesn't stop until we pull apart, get intimate with ourselves, and then we come back. And whether one of us is being a grumble butt or not, we're open to being more intimate together. Which may look like we just look at each other. You know, that may be all we need to do. But you know, if Michael can't stand his own reflection, how can he stand me staring at him in the eyes for any length of time? You know, if Michael doesn't touch himself ever, then how could he actually feel comfortable with me touching him? Or how could he not be overly needy and need me to touch him all the time? Right? Tina says, awesome sound effects. Oh, yeah, it's all the time too. God, thank you. You don't let out your sound effects nearly as much on here.
Do I have sound effects?
Not as much as like SK and KE and I do. But you do a little bit.
I definitely have sound effects.
You
in
do, yeah. This really not as much, but
Yeah.
you know, you haven't gotten intimate with that part of yourself. Because we all have that, right? Like that intimacy. Kim mentioned it early on. This like vulnerability and being like laughing and this intimacy of like doing real human stuff together. Like I thought about this and I was like, I don't want to talk about this, but it's come up again. And I don't want to like talk about it a long time. But like there are certain intimate things like using the bathroom in front of someone. That's an intimate thing, you know? Whether you want to or not, it's still very intimate. Like it's in it anything that I would do with myself only, letting someone else into that territory, that's extremely intimate. You know, letting someone into my home, that's really intimate to me. I love Tina.
Would you like to read what Tina says? Yes, it does. It totally does.
Tina says that farting does not count as a sound effect. Carrie says, sure it is. I would agree with Tina. I can say, unless I'm wrong.
How do we do this?
Right?
Yes, this
Michael agrees with Carrie.
Farting actually is a sound effect.
If so, then Michael makes sound effects all the time. These are our intimate moments.
It is interesting though, once you start having sound effects with certain people or like one person or a group of people, how you start to kind of create your own language with just sound effects.
Yeah.
And then outside observers are like, what the hell are they talking about?
Right? That's like SK and I sound like goats all the time when
I
we're
didn't
together.
know I just heard you all making goat sounds and talking about Becky the other night for like 3 hours. And you had some type of conversation between the three of you. I couldn't tell you what it was about. But it was like all types of sound effects, basically.
Right? This just in. Tina proves the point that farts are not sound effects because sound effects don't smell. Boom!
That is a good point.
Right? Oh. Carrie says that her response was actually to the intimate moments in the bathroom. Yeah, whatever. Right? SK says sharing sacred spaces in reverences, right? That's my kind of intimate moment, right? In reverence. Yeah, like in that, like in reverence, that like in high regard to the wholeness, to the holiness, to the spirit, to the bigness, the all that is, and holding that sacred space, and then having someone come into ceremony, because like I hold ceremonies a lot. And like I hold that space like super container style. And like that's intimate because as soon as people come into that reverent, sacred container, that's when we can be our most vulnerable, our most authentic. Like we can allow ourselves to go intimate deep inside ourselves and let out whatever we need to let out. Maybe it's a goat noise or not. But like that is totally one of my favorite kind of intimate moments. Becky. I love y'all.
That's a sound effect.
It is. It is a sound effect. But like, can we just like talk about intimacy with our friends and our partnerships? Like, can we have these real conversations with yourself? Oh, thank you. That is like, hey, am I intimate with myself? Can I look at myself in the mirror? Can I take myself into deep, loving, vulnerable places with myself? Like, can we have these? You know, there was a time in my life where I didn't have physical touch for a really long time. And I would get a massage. Thank God I would trade with this girl. And when she would start massaging me, I would cry when I realized that I hadn't been touched by a human in like months, you know? And I forgot where I was going to go with this, but I think that we live in a time where so many of us are missing out on that touch. And Charles said earlier that it's not all about touch. We live in a time where touch isn't the most accessible form of intimacy. So we get to be super creative and really open and honest and vulnerable by saying, hey, friend, hey, parent, hey, kiddo, I want to have an intimate moment with you, and not make the word dirty. Rather be like, can we sit and just like, can we look at each other for a little bit? Like, can we hold hands? Something. Tina says, true moments of joy. Pam and I play the Wii and laugh, and we play card games and we'll laugh and we get a little bit cutthroat, but this is self-care for us, right? Tina says, oops, I heard, can I go to the bathroom with myself? Yes. Like playing games. You know, like having an intimate moment with a child, to me, is listening to them, like for real, listening to them and feeling their excitement and energy and their vision and playing games with them. Because then they're going to remember that one time that old person, you know, the 20, 30, 40, 50, 60-year-old, listened to them and played a game with them. And then they will continue to grow up to be that person who feels safe to be vulnerable with all types of people, not just their peer group. Intimacy is such medicine that I feel like we are hopefully going to be stepping into in bigger ways. What do you think?
I think we will be. I'm just curious when that time will be.
Well, now. Why not now? Because people are afraid because of COVID?
I think so.
Mm-hmm. Well, luckily we have masks on, so we can still stare at each other. Oh, but people still stand 6 feet apart even with a mask on.
It's totally different, though.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
It's totally different. I had an interaction with a stranger yesterday when I was picking up the food. They were sitting in their car, and I was walking out with the food to go over to my car. And we made the eye contact. And usually there's like this exchange. Yeah, some type of smile interaction. And like we both like went to smile, like I saw her eyes lift and mine lifted, and like I smiled at her, but like she couldn't tell if I was smiling, so like she diverted her eyes real quick. Whereas if we had seen each other, I feel like we would have like acknowledged each other, and then I would have kept walking.
Oh.
There was it was just weird. Like
What
she diverted because we didn't communicate the way humans normally do.
Wait.
Because we couldn't see each other's faces.
What if she thought you were smiling? What if she thought you were smiling and thought, oh, that's too intimate for me, and she had to look away?
Oh, could be.
Right? Because a lot of times when we are given intimate moments, if we are not truly comfortable with intimacy, we'll push it away. I mean, I would tell people, no, don't hug me, because I wasn't intimate with myself. Like I couldn't handle that. So like even just as simple as a smile, if I'm a woman and a man smiles at me for so long, I'd be like, nope, look away. Like he's going to attack me. He's going to hurt me. He has an agenda. So I would just turn away.
Mm-hmm.
You know, even though my nature would be like, hey, smile, international symbol for hello. But then once I got that back, I'd be like, ah.
That's not the vibe I picked up. That's a good point. I can
Right?
understand that perspective.
I just wanted to share because it's about time.
Mm-hmm.
But I also want to hear. Games are a big part of my teaching youth group, Tina shares. Ooh, that's cool. I like that. Carrie says, oh, I feel that. I'm grateful that one of my friends is my massage therapist, right? I'm totally comfortable with her presence and touch without worrying about things being awkward or feeling inappropriate. Exactly. There's a safety to intimacy. Real, true intimacy feels safe. So can we just like make a group pact that we will focus on intimacy with ourselves and with other beings, whatever way that looks, in safe, vulnerable ways. Because to me, it's like now's the time to lead with a big, vulnerable, open, loving heart. And we are the change makers. I mean, we're the ones to be the change, right? Let's do it.
Okay.
Deal?
I'm down.
Yeah. Bam. Okay. Y'all, okay, it's the top of the hour, so we have to go. Continue date night and talk about intimacy and read a book and all that fun stuff. So Let's be intimate with everybody. Ha! Safely. Thank you. Thanks for being here, y'all. Thank you so much. We love you. I love you. I'm going to speak for Michael.
I love everybody too.
Okay, yeah.
So that's fine.
Okay, good. Same frequency. Change agents. Yes, we are. Yes. So keep loving yourselves. Keep being intimate. Share your love. Share your light. Share all that you are in this world. Be brave about it and be vulnerable as well, because it's all one and the same. And keep taking care of yourselves and each other. And I'm excited for next week, y'all. So, okay. Have a good night. I'm elbowing him. Okay, bye.